Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Section 8 Real Estate Investing. I'm Rhett. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any other videos we have coming your way. So today we have a really interesting topic that relates to your Section 8 inspection. Okay, this is a huge problem for a lot of investors. I know I dealt with a lot of issues with this when I started, and even still, it's not the smoothest thing, okay? So when you buy a property and you decide, I want to be a Section 8 landlord, once you get the property up to speed and up to the standards where you think a renter can move in, HUD sends their own inspector out to your property to determine if it's ready for a Section 8 renter. Because at the end of the day, it's a government program. They're not going to pay you any money if it's not up to their standards, okay? So a Section 8 inspection takes place after you have a tenant lined up for the property. Okay, now when you have a tenant lined up, the caseworker agrees, everyone's in agreement, right? So you want to rent it to this tenant that you're looking at, you've approved them, that tenant has agreed to move into your unit, and that caseworker has agreed upon a certain rent number, okay? Now, the caseworker and you set up an inspection, okay? So that could take place anywhere from 2 days, it could take 2 weeks. It depends on how busy the inspector is in that area, okay? Now, the inspectors are no BS, okay? They are there to do a job and they are as meticulous as it gets. So if you have a house that you rehab and you go, oh, well, that stuff's maybe not up to code, but they won't see it, they will. And they do a really, really good job, okay? Now, they're not your enemy. At the end of the day, if everything is up to par and everything's good, they check off on the unit and you're good to go. Today, we're gonna kind of go over a couple common failure points, all right? Now, what they're gonna do is they go through the house with a couple sheets of paper. They check off every single room of that house. They check off the interior, they check off the exterior, they check off big failure points, they check off small failure points, okay? And I have a list that I've compiled of some things that have been frequent failures in some of my properties. So now, the last thing I do before I make an appointment for an inspector is I go through the house myself, okay? And I say, well, is this done, is this done, is this done? If it is, I say, okay, we're probably gonna be good to go here, all right? And this is what you guys need to do for your properties. Now, if you're out-of-state investors, like I also am in some portfolios, have the contractor that did all the rehab work be there for the inspection. It's gonna make everything go a lot smoother, okay? And you're gonna know a lot quicker if the inspection passed or not, okay? So, first I wanna go over with you guys some things that have been common failure points for me. Interior-wise, okay? Exposed wires and outlets. All of this stuff might sound like, oh, of course, right? But for me, a majority of the houses I own are older homes, right? They're 1930s, 1940s, 1950s. The construction's a little bit different. Some things go bad differently, okay? There are some things that might not be in your brand new house that was built, in the 21st century, okay? So exposed wires and outlets. Now that could be anything from a cap of an electrical wire, a cable wire that protrudes too much, that's a failure, okay? Outlets that aren't screwed on all the way, where there's a little bit of exposure with anything electrical, automatic failure, your house will totally fail, okay? All it takes is one failure to fail the whole house. There's no, hey, we're gonna pass it, but just make sure this is done by move-in. That's not how it goes. Every single thing needs to be checked off, single thing needs to be done before that renter is able to move in, okay? Smoke detectors. It seems nobody knows how many smoke detectors are supposed to go in a house, okay? I've put 1 smoke detector in and passed. I've put 7 smoke detectors in and failed, okay? My rule of thumb is this: put them outside of every single bedroom and put them in every living room other than the kitchen, okay? I've had inspections fail because I've had smoke detectors in the kitchen, on the outskirts of the kitchen, okay? Now listen, inspectors are human. They could be having a bad day just like you or me, all right? Grounded outlets, all right? For those of you guys who aren't electricians, if you are out-of-state investors, if you don't know anything about electrical work, when your contractor is doing a rehab for you, before you set up an inspection, ask them, say, hey, what kind of outlets are in the house? Are they 3-prong or 2-prong? If they are 3-prong, guys, they have to be grounded, which means there needs to be a ground behind the outlet. On every single outlet, there's a little piece of metal where you tie in a ground. A ground means that every electrical outlet is in the ground, right? There's a metal pole that grounds all the outlets. It helps conduct electricity better, okay? So you need to ask them, are all the outlets grounded? If they are not grounded, they cannot be a 3-prong outlet. They can only be a 2-prong outlet. What's the difference? Well, a 3-prong outlet has 3 holes. A 2-prong outlet is something that only has 2, that you can just plug in an iPhone into, okay? But you can't plug in anything heavy that pulls a lot of electricity, okay? It's a fire risk, it's a hazard. So you want those outlets grounded, and if they're not grounded, that's fine. You don't have to redo all the electrical. Just make sure that they're 2-prong, okay? Locks. Everything needs locks, okay? Just like you'd want your house to be locked and have locks on everything, people that move in want locks on all their stuff, okay? That includes bedrooms, bedroom doors, okay? Windows, every single window, bathrooms, all right? And obviously exterior doors, okay? Everything needs locks. They need to be functioning. They need to be smooth. Now, they don't need to be brand new, but they need to work, okay? If it sits there and you lock a bathroom door and you close the door and somebody can just come and push the door open, it doesn't count. You're gonna fail for that. And let me tell you something. Some of these small fixes that cost $10, $15, $20 to fix, it's not worth trying to get them through an inspection when you could just spend the $10, $15 up front, get it done the right way, and then pass the inspection. You guys know that holding costs for your properties cost you money. Every day that a tenant isn't in your property, it costs you money. Spend the $10 to get the tenant in there and pass the inspection. Okay, guys? It has to be clean, all right? Just because you rehab a place and you put sheetrock and drywall up and there's drywall dust all over the floor that never gets cleaned, you're gonna fail for that. If counters are dirty because you just put in new counter sets or you just repainted all the cabinets and there's paint on the counters, you're gonna fail, right? Think about it like this. Would you want your grandmother moving into this unit? If the answer is no, you're not doing it right, okay? Clean up after yourselves, clean up after the rehab that you just did, all right? Take pride in it. Egresses, windows that open. Now this is a big one. I buy a lot of properties that are foreclosures, that are in distress, okay? Sometimes some of these properties have been totally painted 10, 20 times it seems. Sometimes the bank will even do it to make it look nicer so when you go in, you buy it, all right? The problem with that is a lot of times windows are painted shut. Sometimes even they're caulked shut. So every single room needs to have an operating window. Now, it's not a hard fix, okay? All you gotta do is scrape the caulk out, scrape the window of paint, that way it's operable and it opens. Every room needs, 2 egresses, okay? Other than a closet or a bathroom. Bedrooms, living spaces, kitchen, it all needs an egress, okay? It's all against fire code, right? So make sure that 1 window opens in every single room. Now, if a room has 10 windows and they're all painted shut, you only have to fix 1 of those windows, okay? You don't have to uncaulk or take the paint off of every single window. I do, right? But you don't have to. The rule is that only 1 window needs to open in every unit, okay? Guys, heat and water that work. This is a big one. You wouldn't think it is, but it is. Section 8 units do not need air conditioning. You don't hear of a lot of people that have health issues because it's too hot in their unit, right? You can open windows, you can sit outside, but not having heat is a huge problem because people can get killed if it's too cold, okay? So, heat, not local. You can't have, electric heaters, place heaters, that does not fly. Even gas heaters that are on the wall, guys, those don't count. You need real sources of heat. Now, window units that have heat are fine, but they need to be sufficient enough to heat the entire unit, which means you need a ton of them, right? That cost adds up pretty quick, especially if you're talking about a 13, 14, 1,500 square foot home. You're gonna need one in every single bedroom. You're gonna need one in every single living area in order to heat the home proficiently, okay? So, you're gonna need to take care of heat, okay? I recommend HVAC system. Just get it done. It's it's a one-time cost. It's expensive, yes, but what you'll realize is your place will rent out a lot faster because tenants want central heat, okay? They want central air, all right? So, water pressure, okay? Does the water work? Do you have hot water? If the water pressure isn't good, guys, it's an automatic failure. It's easy. Inspector walks right in, he walks into the kitchen, turns the sink on. If the water doesn't come out strong, same in the shower, with a toilet flush, you're gonna fail. It's not worth it. It's not that hard of a fix. Get the water pressure done right, okay? Toilets and showers, no leaks. Now, this includes if you turn the shower on and there's water dripping out of the head of the shower, that's a failure, okay? You need good streams of water, okay? There can't be any leaking. When you flush the toilet, does a little water come out on the ground, on the bottom of the commode? If it does, you're gonna fail. Take pride in this stuff, guys. Even shower heads that have a little bit of a leak, you're going to fail for that. It's not worth failing for something that is an easy fix, okay? Drain plugs, guys. I have literally failed because the sink in the bathroom doesn't have a 35-cent drain plug, okay? At Home Depot, Lowe's, you can literally get a plug that hangs around the faucet of the sink and hangs into the sink that you just take, it's on a chain, and you plug up the hole. It's 35 cents. And you need those, right? You need them in tubs, you need them in sinks, one needs to be in the kitchen. You don't need disposals. We've talked about that in previous videos. Don't get disposals. But what you do need is plugs, okay? Now, ventilation in the bathroom, okay? While we're on the bathroom, there needs to be a fan in the bathroom, okay? You need some kind of ventilation, right? Now, if you don't have a fan, that's fine. You don't need to put one in as long as there's an operating window. Now, you know a lot of bathrooms don't have windows, so you need a fan. But you don't need a fan if there's a window. Make sure the window works, okay guys? Some of you at home are probably thinking, wow, this is a lot of stuff. It really isn't, okay? What I recommend is that you print out your local housing authority. It has a checklist online. So when you guys do finish your rehabs, you can walk through the house first, check off everything, make sure everything passes. These are just some things that are kind of hidden that aren't necessarily hitting you in the face when you're looking at some of these inspection sheets that'll help out to know, okay? So guys, make sure the doors are shaved, okay? If doors don't close perfectly, you're gonna fail. If you have to shove a door closed, it's a failure. Exterior doors, no light. They have to be weatherproofed and tight, okay? So that front door to that place that you just spent a lot of money rehabbing, if you close it and you stand on the inside of the house and look outside and you can see any daylight, any sunlight, it's a failure, okay? Now, that's not too hard of a fix. Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, okay? Go to a hardware store and get weather stripping and just weather strip the doors, guys. It's not that hard, okay? And it's not expensive. Water heater must be off the floor. This might sound pretty normal to you guys, but some of you know who buy distressed property or buy property who might not have a lot of background in rehabbing stuff. You might buy places sometimes that have water heaters on the floor. A water heater on the floor corrodes, it rots, and can break and have huge problems, okay? So make sure those water heaters are up off the floor. If you have a good contractor, this is something you never have to think about, okay? Make sure the cabinets close. Guys, I've failed inspections because everything's perfect in the whole house and one cabinet under the sink doesn't close all the way. Maybe because the magnet broke or maybe because it's a little bit off, doesn't close all the way. It's a failure. It's so not worth it, guys. Don't try to skip over some of these things. That's why I'm trying to bring them to your attention. So when you see them, you say, oh, that needs to be fixed. These inspectors, they care about their jobs. They will fail you for it. Don't take it personally. Do it right the first time. Okay? All appliances work. Like we've talked about in previous videos, I recommend buying new appliances. They're worth it, guys. There are certain things that are not worth it. New appliances are worth it. They're not expensive and they last a long time, okay? Make sure all the appliances work. If you buy property and maybe you made a great buy and it came with appliances that work, make sure that they work, okay? Guys, make sure there's no lead paint in the house, okay? Make sure there's no asbestos. These are big. If there is lead and asbestos, don't buy the property. It's gonna cost you a ton of money to eradicate that stuff, okay? Especially today. You guys, whoever is your boots on the ground, whoever is bird dogging these things for you, taking videos, taking pictures, stay away from asbestos tile on the ceiling, stay away from asbestos tile on the floor, okay? There are certain dimensions that are asbestos tile. I believe it's 9 by 9 on the floor. Don't go near asbestos tile. Lead paint, you can see sometimes from pictures by the way that it chips that it's lead from exterior stuff, okay? Stay away from it. Make sure you guys get lead paint certifications on your buying. When you're buying, make sure you guys know that there's no lead paint or asbestos inside the house or any prior knowledge of lead paint and asbestos, okay? Otherwise, you're pretty much screwed. So stay away from it. It's gonna cost you more money to eradicate it and get rid of it than it is to usually buy the house in some places, depending on where you guys are buying. Make sure there's no cracked tile or exposed subflooring, okay? Any cracked tile, especially in the bathroom, kitchen, if there's cracked tile, it's a failure. Guys, pop it right out, put a new piece in, have your contractor flooring guy regrout it, okay? No exposed subfloor, okay? If there's a piece of hardwood that might be missing, put something down. Put a piece of vinyl down, put something down. Nothing exposed in the floor, okay? No cracked windows. This is one that might seem easy for you and say, oh, that's not a big deal. But some of these old houses that have multiple panes, okay, on these windows, if any of those panes, if one little pane is broken, your whole house is failing. It's better for you guys to go through these with a fine-tooth comb than have the inspector go through with a fine-tooth comb and fail it and then not be able to get out to re-inspect you for another 2 weeks. You do not want that, okay? Spend the time up front, go through your own property, make sure all these things pass. Now, if you're doing this out of state, make sure you give all this information to your contractor to make sure, because even if you send over your contractor the full sheet that HUD uses to inspect these things and check off problem points, these inspectors have been doing this. This is what they do for a living, okay? They know little things that might not be on this list. These are the things that are not on that list that you will fail for. Give this list to your contractor or whoever's checking off your property management company. Make sure all this stuff passes, okay? Make sure you don't have any issues here. All right, guys? Now that we have the interior stuff, let's go over briefly some of the exterior stuff, okay? Power lines must be clear, okay? That includes cable and telephone lines that are on your property, okay? A lot of these older houses, right? Stuff that hasn't been built recently, they all have telephone lines, cable lines, sometimes power lines that connect to the house, okay? Now, in most places, they have to go underground. But in some of these older buys, they're all connected to the house still, okay? Now, make sure they're clear. Make sure they're not drooping. Make sure they're not too low. If they are, that's not your fault. Call the power company, call the cable company, call the phone company. They'll come and fix that stuff for you guys. That's free. You don't even have to pay for that. But you will fail if it's in bad shape. If you have a telephone line that's sagging down and touching the ground, then, you're gonna fail, okay? Also make sure that no trees, limbs are impeding that stuff, laying on top of it, pushing it down, okay? Down trees, make sure there's no down trees on the property. That's easy, talk to your contractor, cut them up, get them off the property. Roof and gutter condition. Make sure your roof is good for multiple reasons. One, it's gonna cost you a fortune in the next couple of years, okay? It's gonna be a problem with your insurance. It's gonna be a problem with leaks. It's gonna cost you money. Make sure the roofs are good. All my properties, I put new roofs on because it's not worth the issue down the line. You go to your insurance company, say you put a brand new roof on this year. A lot of you guys know who have property. You get a nice cut on your insurance because they don't worry about water losses based on issues with the roof, okay? They want to see gutter condition. Inspectors want to see gutter condition, guys. If there's stuff in the gutters and the gutters are hanging off or the gutters are filled with stuff, you're gonna have to clean those out, all right? Again, this is stuff you want. This is protecting you on the backside. You don't want water damage on an exterior wall that comes onto the inside. Next thing you know, you have to take an entire wall out and redo the whole wall. It's not worth it. Stair condition and rails. Make sure if you have brick stairs that there aren't bricks missing or cracked. Make sure everything's grouted in and sanded in the correct way. Make sure if you have concrete stairs, they're not chipped. If they're wood, they're not wobbly. Make sure everything is good. Make sure it's all taken care of. Every exterior staircase needs at least one railing to get in. Okay, that's a Section 8 code. Make sure that that's possible. It can be wood, it could be metal, it doesn't matter, just need a railing, all right? No paint chips, guys. If you're painting the exteriors of these places, whoever paints it for you is gonna be taking that old paint off. If there's paint chips on the ground outside, it's an immediate failure. The inspector isn't even gonna go in the property, okay? Landscape, make sure it's not unkempt, make sure it's fine, make sure it looks good. If it's overgrown and ugly, it's gonna fail. Pretty straightforward. Same thing with trash. No trash outside on the unit, no hazards, no loose bricks hanging around the yard, no wires, no old hangers, no trash, nothing. Make sure the yard's good. If the yard's clean, you're gonna pass. And lastly, guys, print your local housing authority checklist to make sure that you have everything you need. It's different in every single county, every single place. So make sure before you make your appointment, you go through the house, you have your contractor go through the house with your independent checklist for Section 8. Guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hang in for the next video. Thanks, guys.